Even this latest election really showcased that realignment that's happening. People aren't full blown moving over to the Republican Party just yet. People are very hesitant about that. They don't like where the Democratic Party is, but they're not quite ready to say yes to a Republican, right?
I thought it was a rejection of both parties in so many ways. The only thing that was outside the purview of economics and possibly Roe v. Wade was the fact that all of these big election denier candidates, they all lost. And I do think that was very telling, particularly in Washington and Arizona, and obviously the big ones in Pennsylvania. I think that really was definitive. And maybe, it could be, just a good transition to talk about, what is the future? Is it going to be Trump or is it going to be DeSantis? Because a lot of people feel that Trump's stamp on the midterms really cost the GOP in many ways.
Yeah. And I didn't really view it that way. I actually viewed it as the candidates that were the Trump candidates, the Trump endorsed candidates were all completely out of touch. They just weren't the everyman that the original Trump campaign in 2016 really was able to capture, was that everyman populist, that the forgotten person that just wanted to be seen and heard in America, that cares about working class issues. The Trump campaign certainly deviated that in 2020. And Bernie Sanders as well, I felt like deviated from that message that made him really popular in 2016. I think both candidates really failed in 2020 with their campaigns on really just honing in and pounding that populist message. They both failed on that and they went into culture wars instead. What I saw with this election was that the candidates were bad. I mean, I agree with the Republicans on that. A lot of the pundits that are coming out saying, well, we need to have good candidates. Yeah, I mean, a TV doctor, a venture capitalist in Arizona, an NFL millionaire in Georgia. I mean, these people are not representative, and Trump isn't either, right? I mean, he didn't represent the everyman in 2016, but he was able to, he was like eating steak with ketchup and drinking his Diet Cokes and saying whatever he wanted to say, and that captivated people. What's that?
The taco bowl.
Yeah, exactly. And he's eating McDonald's or whatever. And he just, even though he's this wealthy, privileged person who came from wealth and never lived in, regular middle class America, he never came from that. He still was able to make them feel like he did. And that captivated the people in 2016. They felt like finally someone just saying it like it is.
Can you emphasize, Kim? I mean, to me, that's really the lost talking point here that I think people are forgetting. There are tens of millions of people in this country who feel like nobody gives a damn about them and know that nobody gives a damn about them. And even if you give them lip service, they'll take that over basically just being patronized to death, which is, unfortunately, the loudest voices in the Democratic Party seem to do that all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas somebody like, Trump is, full of it in almost every way, but is going to pay lip service to those and tell them, you're really great people, you're tremendous people, we're totally supporting you. And it's like, that's better than nothing.
You're so good at that.
But that's better than nothing. That's better than basically being told, you're going to vote for us, and that's all you're going to do.
Well, he ran on a populist message. He ran on a populist message
in 2016.
Yeah. And so now what happens is his niche, his cult has gotten smaller and smaller because the people that fell for the populist message, they're not in with it anymore. And now all he's retaining are the cultists. So it's almost like he doesn't need to have the other candidates were never going to be populist candidates. They were going to be now part of this new sort of just election denier cult.
Right. Yeah. None of them represented the everyman. And that was really the ultimate, I think, big problem. People could not connect with a millionaire venture capitalist. People cannot connect with celebrity TV doctors. They just can't connect with these people. They don't represent them, and they don't even speak like them in the way that Trump did, at least. So that to me was actually the bigger failing. It wasn't about whether or not Trump endorsed them or whether or not they even agreed with the election, with the outcome of the election. I mean, they could have. I think that they could have still had those things and still won had they actually been like Fetterman, who seemed more like what would have been considered the Trumpian candidate. Had he been a Republican, he would have been very much viewed as the Trump type. Here's just like a guy he just represents the people. He doesn't have the same political polish. And that's what people want. Oz was like politically polished, even though he'd never run a campaign before. He still had that TV persona, looked nice, had all the money. Fetterman represented what the people really were voting for, even in 2016 when they were going for either Trump or Bernie Sanders. So that to me was the real failing. It was just another showcasing of how far gone the populist message is. It's just gone. No one's really retaining it on either side. And Trump, really the mistake that he made was firing Steve Bannon, to be quite honest with you. I think Steve Bannon, like the guy or not, was extremely intelligent and is extremely intelligent and extremely in tune with that populist message. Now, I don't agree with a lot of what Steve Bannon says on what his policy prescriptions would be, but I still think he understood the sentiment of populism. And he was the one who guided Trump's campaign in 2016, because Trump doesn't have it instinctively. Trump is not really his own made man politically, right? He's like created by these other people who are around him, kind of encouraging him to take certain stances. I don't think Trump can be controlled, but I think he could be encouraged, and he enjoys being popular. So what happened was he lost the advisors around him that were really truly guiding him in that direction. Those advisors went by the wayside. And the only people left were the ones that were just fanning him as a person, saying, you're wonderful, you're great, people love you. It wasn't him that people fell for in 2016. It was the message that he delivered. It could have been anybody. It wasn't about Trump. But that has now been lost, even by Trump himself, because he's kind of thinking, no, it's me. They all love me. No, they loved what he said in 2016. That was then lost. It was the same thing with Bernie Sanders. And a lot of people loved what he was saying. And then as he's deviated from that message, he's losing supporters. People aren't as in love with Donald Trump as the media would make it sound like. They make it sound like, these people are a cult. And they're really not. They want that populist message. So since it's been abandoned, and these midterms have showcased that it was abandoned even more, except for Ron DeSantis, I think he ran with it, and we saw the outcome of that. That's the winning message. And Republicans do need to get back on board with that. And so do Democrats. Those, the progressives that and Bernie even himself, where's his anti-war message? I don't know. It's like he buried it. And so has the progressive left. And that's the stuff that people want. And they're not getting it anymore from anyone except for Ron DeSantis right now. And guys like Fetterman. Isn't that interesting company? I think it's like the lines are very blurry to me, because when you're sitting there and you're talking about, I could see Fetterman being a Republican, like that image, that kind of person going around, working people, middle of Pennsylvania. Absolutely. Like I could see that. And the fact that that's so easy to see, it's very kind of, it seems very like amorphous. And a lot of people on the left, of course, are very quick to point out how Fetterman supports fracking. And, it's like you have to pass the purity tests, Kim. If you don't pass the purity test, you just do not qualify. Then you're not capable of fighting for labor because you don't agree with us on everything. Right.
But so it's like they'll find that one thing and say, well, he's not real progressive. He's not real, and I don't get it. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.